Hello everyone, my name is Silver Willowwing and today I am going to talk about How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World. The movie got out in my country already, so I went to see it. I watched the whole thing and I did a special video about it. If you want to check that out, I'll put it at the end of this video so you can go ahead and watch it if you want. It's a bit strange but a lot of fun as well. So this is a spoiler-free review where I just give you my overall idea of the movie, my overall feelings, how great I thought it was compared to the other two movies. And I'll talk about, I'll be basing it basically the first trailer, the characters that we saw there, I'll be talking about them. I'll be talking about the Light Fury, obviously. She's on the poster, so that's not really a spoiler. I will not be talking about the plot, I'll not be talking about scenes, specific scenes or anything. I'll just be talking about the overall flow of the movie. And I'll mention the soundtrack as well, but I will not be spoiling this story at all. So that's what this review is all about. So, overall, my thoughts about the movie, I thought it was decent. I thought it was decent. I think the best way for me to kind of put this into perspective to describe how I feel about it is by rating all three movies, then you kind of get the idea. So the first one to me is a 10 out of 10. No doubt, it's one of the greatest animated movies I've ever seen. The second movie for me is a 6 out of 10. The movie was very confused. There was a lot of different plot lines. If I had to pick out like what was most important for this movie, I would think I wouldn't know what to say. Was it Hiccup becoming chief? Was it finding his mother? Was it the war with Draco? What was the heart of it? What was the source of it? I feel like it was very... There was some really amazing scenes in it. There was amazing scenes, but the plot was just... It didn't go smoothly, in my opinion at least. It's not a bad movie. I am normally very strict with my ratings, so if you feel like it sounds low to give it a 6 out of 10, that's just my opinion. I'm not saying it's a bad movie. It's not a bad movie at all. You can't help but compare it to the first one, and for me, it's not even close to it. And then we have the third movie, which for me is a 7 out of 10. So it's not nearly as good as the first one, but it does surpass the second, in my opinion. It does. The lines were more clear. There was a overall theme that you would have to follow and that went there, and it worked a lot better than the second movie, in my opinion at least. And the characters were more recognizable to me. I feel like Hiccup was more Hiccup in the third movie than it was in the second. I feel like maybe he was confused in the second as well because of everything with his father and everything. And he was still Hiccup, but I'm just saying I like how the characters worked in the third movie. They were believable. There were some emotions there that were very recognizable, and they did a good job of doing that. Overall. The story was, it was nothing new. It was nothing new, but the animation was really, really great. And that combined with characters that I absolutely love, amazing voice acting and outstanding animation, it brings together a decent movie. But the plot was nothing new. We've seen a lot like in other movies as well. Based on the trailer, it's obviously clear that Toothless finds a Light Fury, and the love theme is very a big aspect of it, obviously. And that's just not saying that love is a bad thing, but it's seen before. It definitely is. I'm not gonna get more into specific detail on that that would be ruining some of it, I do believe. But nothing new there. But really, really beautiful scenarios, and the scenery, it's amazing. It was it was amazing to see how much they have moved, even from just the second movie and then to the third. A lot of progress there, so really good job to the modelers, the animators, the lighting crew, and everything, the particles, whatever, how many people that worked on all those different things, very good. The soundtrack I want to mention was disappointing to me. It had some passages of the classic How to Train Your Dragon soundtrack, you know, the one we just know and feel in our heart, the one that started from Test Drive in the first movie and then transferred over to the final war with Draco in the second movie. That classic soundtrack. It was there in a few passages, but there wasn't really anything new, where I feel like in the first movie we had Forbidden Friendship. That scene and that soundtrack was very powerful. In the second movie we had Flying with Mother, which also is a very powerful soundtrack that worked really, really well. And in the third movie, there wasn't really, I mean, there was a soundtrack without a doubt. There was soundtrack in The Hidden World, but it was just, it wasn't in the same kind of flow. It wasn't the same feeling. It wasn't the overall same idea. It was the same composer, obviously, but it seemed like they were trying to go in a little bit of a different direction with this soundtrack. There was a lot of choir in it as well. And it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad at all. But again, when you are comparing to previous movies, which you obviously are when it's a franchise, the first movie was incredible. The second movie was very good. And then this one was just kind of... It was good, but it was not very good, you know? So that was a little bit disappointing because I always listen for the soundtracks. I love movie soundtracks if they really work, if they're very good. And How to Train Your Dragon used to have an amazing soundtrack, and this was also amazing. I don't want to be just nitpicking and say it was a terrible soundtrack because that wasn't it. It was a good soundtrack. It was just not as great as the first and the second, especially the first. So that is some aspect of it, but still it worked out. There was some passages of the recognizable soundtrack, like I said. My favorite, if I had to pick one favorite thing about the movie, without spoiling one specific scene or anything, like overall my favorite thing about the movie was Grimille. The villain, Grimille. He was very refreshing, he was very relatable, he was very, not in the sense that you support his cause, but he was very approachable as a viewer. He was terrifying, but he was charismatic and he was funny at the same time. He was a big mix of like everything, because you knew he was serious business, but you could also kind of smile at some of the things that went around because he was just very wholesome, very, very well developed villain compared to Drago from the second movie, which was just a loud brute with like nothing there. So shallow, so hollow, nothing there. Like I doubt anyone related to that guy. He was just, and villains have to be, you know, they have to be bad or whatever, but it's still important that you care for them, because if you don't care for them at all, then it's just, it kind of loses its purpose. You have to just be a little interested in the villain, even if you don't, you know, support their cause. Just a little bit of interest there is important. And I was definitely there with Grimille. I feel like I was very, very engaged in him and everything he did. So very, very nice to see a villain like that, a very sturdy villain in a movie like this. So that was very refreshing. And overall, I had a good experience in the cinema. I was enjoying it. I was enjoying watching this a lot more than the second one. The second one is also just vicious because there is all this with Stoic and Volkan. They reunite, and that's gorgeous, beautiful scenes. And then he just gets destroyed by Toothless, and there's like no really, you don't really recover from that. That just happened and you're like, wow, okay, how do we move on from here? You just got your family back and then it's gone again. The wildebeest dies, and like there's a lot of things going on, and being dark in a movie is not necessarily a bad thing, but I feel like in the second one it was just so viciously forced onto you so shortly after you have just been introduced to this relationship between these two characters. And that's not the reason why I don't like the second one as much as the others. There's a lot of reasons there, but that's one aspect that I thought was very was it necessary to do it like that? Like that's just what I'm thinking. And if you like the second movie, please do not think that I'm trying to say it's a bad movie, because it's not. When I'm comparing them, I just have the two others. I like them more. And I hope that's fair to say. That's just my opinion. If you love the second more than anything, you go for it. You go for it. And I can see why you would, because there is a lot of good things in there, but I just can't overlook some of the other things. But this is not about the second movie. Overall, third movie, if you like the franchise, you should go see it, but you should be open for it. You should take it, you should let it take you where it wants to take you. Because if you try to kind of fight where the ending is going, you're not gonna enjoy it. You're gonna go to cinema and you're gonna be really, really not, like, you're gonna feel incomplete. Because the ending is always, it's always an ending to a story, and that's always something you have to process. So just be open-minded. I mean, because it has a lot to offer. It has a lot of good things, it has a lot of bad things. It's kind of like a mixed experience, but overall enjoyable because of all the components coming together. So my review of the movie would be that you should definitely check it out if you like dragons and if you have watched the 2 previous movies and if you enjoy the franchise. Even if you just enjoy dragons, because this is an amazing movie about dragons, and that's what like was drawing me in first when I found the franchise, because I've always loved dragons and these movies do deliver dragons, a lot of dragons, so that's always worth watching it regardless of how you're gonna like the plot. But I hope that gave you a little bit of insight into the movie without spoiling anything for you. I don't want to spoil anyone in case they want to be spoiled. So I hope that you found this review enjoyable. I will have a spoiler review up as well, where I'll be talking about my favorite scenes and everything, the whole movie, how I liked it and what I didn't like and what I did like. So that's going to come up after this one. And also feel free to check out the other one I mentioned before when we actually went to the premiere and we were dressed up, me and my sister. I will link that as well at the ending. And thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing for more dragon adventures. And so long, dragon riders.